Woo! Hey guys, this is episode 4 of Entering the Chat. What do you think about Jesus? I have my, at this point, half a lifelong friend. This is Kylie. Do you want to introduce yourself? However.
Oh, sure. My name is Kylie Pearson, and I guess at this point I should probably introduce myself as my title. Huh?
Yeah.
So I'm a mental health counseling pre-licensed candidate. So I'm on my track to full licensure, which will probably happen in the next few months. So I'm hoping like February or March. So in that kind of strange zone of getting my hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We're gonna get back to that actually. I want to talk about, so Kylie and I talked for like 15 or 20 minutes and we were like, oh, we should probably be recording this. I was explaining the concept behind entering the chat. What do you think about Jesus? How it started? Who's next on the list? And these types of things. So if you guys are new here, this series is called Entering the Chat. What do you think about Jesus? The concept behind it is we as Christians oftentimes have friends that are also Christians and have friends that are also in our own socioeconomic status and have friends that are also of the same race or also parents or whatever the case may be. And if you guys follow my channel, 3+Kei, I have been a believer for about 5 years. Jesus has been pursuing me, I would say, for about 15 years until one day I answered the call. But due to my new-ish status, if you will, I have all sorts of friends from all sorts of backgrounds. And the idea is to normalize conversations with other Christians of other denominations, of other ages, of other races, normalize conversations with non-Christians, be they agnostic or atheist or Muslim or Mormon, whatever it might be. Normalize having conversations and leading with curiosity, kindness, joy, love. Do these things sound familiar, guys? The fruits of the Spirit. And so that's what has come so far. So episode 1 was Afton, an agnostic. Episode 2 was Jacob, a 19-year-old fitness award winner, national award winner. Episode 3 was Ben, a lifelong Christian who is facing trials and tribulations in his Christian walk currently. And today we have Kylie. And you gave me an answer, but what was your answer when I asked you what your religious affiliation was?
I think it was something along the lines of, I don't really think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe that was specifically regarding Jesus. I think, I can't remember what I said exactly.
Yeah.
But I said something along the lines of like, well, I wouldn't say I'm an atheist necessarily.
Okay. All right.
But I believe that there's something beyond us that we don't know, or we maybe can't comprehend.
Yeah.
Right. But I wouldn't say I'm a Christian.
Yeah. Okay. And so you do not have a relationship, nor are you pursuing a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. And
I think that the work that I do, and we can go into this more.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have some stuff you want to talk about, but I think the work that I do, in a sense, is sort of influenced by the work that Jesus did, right? It's when you're in a helping profession.
Yeah.
That becomes sort of the basis of your morals and ethics, in a sense.
Right.
So I have thoughts on that, but I wouldn't say that Jesus or religion necessarily plays a role in my life beyond helping people to self-actualize or helping people to get through tough things.
Yeah.
And if their religion is a part of that, then I encourage that and help them to tap into it. That would be the extent of my
Yeah.
my religious affiliations, I suppose.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And so for context, Kylie and I have known each other since, I'm not going to put an age on it, for the last like 20 years. For the last 20 years. And I think you have been fairly like a consistent person. Like if I had to guess in our early 20s where you would be kind of like somewhat in this area. Me, maybe not so much. I'm not sure. I've been doing a lot in life. But I say all that, the 20-year context, because I am just going to speak like super comfortably, similar to Ben. I've known Ben for like 15 years too. And you were saying how you recognize that a line of thinking you might have, or how you process things in the therapeutic, in the way of your therapeutic profession. Some of it may align with Christ's teachings. And one thing that occurred to me when I evangelize in the street, I hand out Bibles and money. And when I'm talking to homeless people, I tell them to look at the Gospel of Mark. So there are 4 stories about Jesus's life in the Bible, and those are the Gospels. And people have their preferences, right? And they tell different but similar stories. My favorite is the Gospel of Mark as a social worker, because in chapter 1, verse 12, which is really soon, right out the gate, Jesus is healing. And throughout the Gospel of Mark, they call it the action gospel. Throughout the Gospel of Mark, you see Jesus praying and healing consistently. The other Gospels, it's more like, it's more on the teaching, less on the action, the healing, the practical application of the teaching, or he sends out the disciples, which are other people on his behalf. But I wonder, what do you mean when you say that your therapeutic process has parallels to Jesus? What do you mean in your words?
Okay, so I think for me, I sort of adopted this, and it's because of the Myers-Briggs assessment, which I know that it isn't necessarily like valid, or
can you say what that is?
Yeah. So it's a popular personality test that people can take, and it will give you a series of letters that sort of that sort of not define, but like explain the aspects of your personality, and what was used like to try to figure out what careers or partnerships or whatever might be best suited for you based on certain personality types. And it's not necessarily valid or reliable. Like, it's not like, I wouldn't lean on it as a good tool to help people figure themselves out, but it's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
And according to Myers-Briggs, I'm an INFJ.
Okay.
And INFJ is the sign, or like the archetype of healers.
Oh, okay.
So on the same path as like Mother Teresa and Jesus. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that they think that Jesus was an INFJ, I was like,
okay.
My heart, right? Oh, I just hit the mic.
Yeah, that's okay. There will be a fine.
Yeah. Sorry. No, but when I heard that they'd say that Jesus was also an INFJ, I was like, man, that really gives me something to model after, right? Of like, how can I reach out to this world? How can I help this world in the same ways as Jesus and Mother Teresa? Like, those are huge heroes, right? Like a huge something to really aspire towards, right? In my career or my destiny as a therapist or healer or whatever you want to say. You know?
So what does if Jesus was like labeled as the INFJ and he was the healer, what are those qualities when you imagine Christ that you're like, oh, I either am similar to that or I aspire to that? What are the traits in there?
Whew. Okay, so we'll just say that what I can aspire to, because I feel like that's really hefty, right? Intuition.
Okay, yeah.
To move with purpose, to be intentional, to be non-judgmental, although the J is for judgmental.
Is it really?
Yeah, but it's like judging in that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. I think yeah, go for it.
The Christian term would be discernment.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, moving with passion and purpose.
Yeah.
And having your drive be outside of yourself. Right? Like my purpose on this earth is to focus on others and look at the community as a whole.
Yeah.
Rather than focusing on my individual well-being first, I guess. If that makes sense. So that would be one way that I would aspire to be closer to Jesus.
Wow.
I think is
okay.
Working towards selflessness.
Yeah.
Working towards acceptance.
Yeah.
Working towards non-judgment. Working towards working towards being in a state of peace and curiosity. And accepting all people as best as I can, right? I've got my faults.
Yeah.
I have my biases. I can't help that.
Yeah.
But I can work on it. Right?
That's very true. I was thinking in the car earlier about the ways we assess ourselves. Like if you ask somebody, the average person on the street, are you a kind person? And all of us would be like, heck yeah, I'm the kindest. And like, I, talk to my grandpa once a week or whatever it is. And it's like, well, are you kind to everybody? Yeah. So would you say Nazis, for example, do they deserve kindness? Well, no, we should be quote unquote punching Nazis in the face and blah, 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 blah. And so what it is us individuals, and it's the human condition, right? Us individuals, we assign who to be kind to whilst maintaining our own moral superiority.
Right.
But we're the judges of like who gets the kindness and the love and the resources and the blah, blah, blah. But if you ask us, we're kind. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I can't speak to other religions because I'm not in them, but an amazing thing that happens when you are following Christ and accepting Christ and you've got the Holy Spirit in you is that we have, in theory, I can say honestly, in theory, a collective moral code, which is dictated to us through the Bible, God's word. And it would be, what's to say, one sound, one band. In theory, that's how Christians would kind of move together. And obviously not always so, but that's one benefit that comes from having the Holy Spirit with you. But I don't think it's uncommon also outside of Christianity or with any religion, right, to want the collective bit of kindness. But the word you use, you kind of took ownership in that. And you said, like, I have my faults or however you had just put it. What do you do in your life to correct your biases? And in all fair, I'm not always kind either and kind to, I would like to quote unquote punch a Nazi in the face or however that plays out. And you're no different in whatever regard. But I know your heart, at least, in that there is some level of correction and you're in the therapeutic profession. How does that marry what do you do in your life to correct your biases and show love to others? What does love look like for you?
It's such a good question. And as a relatively new therapist, it has been something that's been on my mind about. I've worked with clients that I didn't have the same political belief system.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I've noticed myself, feeling triggered or a little on edge or defensive, and really having to lean into my curiosity and figure out that, but realize that typically there is a reason why people have the beliefs that they have, and it serves them in some way. So how can I be curious about the ways that it serves you, that it may not serve me, to be able to see that your story is not my story, but I can still respect and honor that we are different people, right?
Yeah.
And as far as like punching Nazis in the face, right? I have a issue with cancel culture, not to be like, I wouldn't cancel Nazis.
Right.
But I do think that there is more to be gained by having conversations, like, right, we're sitting here. There's more to be gained by having a conversation and being open with somebody, and be trying to lean into curiosity about how they got to where they are,
right,
and kind of removing yourself. A lot of the people who maybe have beliefs or lifestyles that are problematic to groups of people, or maybe that gosh, how do I want to say this? Like, if someone's beliefs are hurtful towards groups of people, chances are they're surrounded by other like-minded people, and they're not having open conversations and talking about what's gotten them to this point. And I really truly believe that the only way we can progress and evolve as people is by having open conversations about these things and being curious about each other. It's when we're defensive and blocked off and judgmental that it really becomes problematic. Then people really dig their heels in, right?
Oh, man.
And it's so hard, because there are definitely people that I would prefer not to work with as a therapist. And I have this moral code of, I am obligated to have unconditional positive regard.
Can you explain that?
Sure. So working with my clients, part of my ethical code is that I need to assume that my clients are good, inherently good, right? For very simple terms, that they're not out trying to cause problems, that their beliefs are not wrong, that they are broken or flawed in some way. So this is, to look at people through this lens, and I'm not perfect at it. It's a practice, right? But to look at people through the lens of, hey, you're a whole person. You have your whole internal world. You have your history and your stories and your surroundings and your upbringing. And you know best what it works for you in your life, right? And I believe that you have good intentions and that you're trying to do the best that you can with your life. And sometimes things are out of your control.
Wow.
That's how I look at unconditional positive regard, right? And I will admit that sometimes it's difficult to have that if people are spewing things that feel really hate driven, or small-minded, or you're trying to really control or manipulate or be cruel towards groups of people. It can be really challenging.
I imagine. I want to, with you describing unconditional regard, I want to just say what the Christian perspective of that is. The Christian perspective is that we are all born evil, or evil's a strong word if you're not familiar with it, but we are all born with sin, with a proclivity toward evil. And for that, like our fleshly nature in Christianese, our fleshly nature makes us do these like bad things. So when a Nazi's being a Nazi, that's what people do, is like we hate each other, we naturally segregate, we do all things that are the antithesis to the love, joy, peace, gentleness, generosity, and so and so. And the word will teach us that like this is just our human fallen nature. But with Christ, we are able to become not perfect, but the process of us becoming more Christ-like is called sanctification. So you'll hear people say stuff like, don't let the devil use me, or my favorite right now, the Lord is still working on me. You know what I mean? That's one of I started using this one. Don't judge me, but hey, you know, mess around and find out. Amen. So you know what I mean? So we're not perfect. To that point, me also being in social services and needing to have unconditional positive regard for my clients and this type of thing, when they're acting out or being hateful sometimes to their own families, right? And this type of thing, it's like this is like the evilness that is the human heart, and only Jesus Christ can save you from such a condition through the act specifically. And this is where we need to talk about it, guys. It's not you just believe in Jesus and you're like the best person ever. That's almost sacrilege, friends. You confess what you did. Like,
you do the work.
You do the work.
You do the work.
You do the work. You confess. You say, hey, I punched that Nazi. I love that we're doing this. Hey, I punched that Nazi. You repent, which means to turn away from. I'm not going to punch Nazis anymore. And you mean it. You have to mean it. And then third, you ask the Lord for forgiveness. And that's the third part. And I think just in this profession, that 3-point process, there's a therapeutic version of that, making amends, or however that might play out to right your wrongs against a person. Yeah, I like that parallel. It's very interesting.
It is interesting
to me. I did want to say this is jumping to a different time in both of our lives, which was about 5 years ago. And I just wanted to highlight this because I was like, man, what am I going to talk to Kylie about? Or is there anything that I've been like wanting to tell her? And there's something you don't know, like an impact you have had on my faith walk, which is one of the reasons why you agreeing to sit down is like so cool to me. And like certain people on my list, like the woman who initially invited me into hired me at a Christian preschool before I was a Christian, and she's my friend now, Miss Jessica, and she says, I knew you weren't a Christian, but I thought you could benefit from the environment, and I would later go on to be saved. So I want to interview her at some point. But the reason why you are such a person, and I've been super public about this, carefully, so for good reason, but I had given my life to Christ and then moved with a family from California to Georgia. And if you guys follow the channel, you know I just experienced a lot of rejection from the church. I am more conservative leaning. However, I don't present as a conservative person, like in my mannerisms and the way that I am, my kind of like kind of nature. You know what I mean? Like I'm not who you think of when you're like conservative Christian lady. And they thought so as well. And it was just a very that was very traumatic. I did not expect to experience what is called church hurt immediately. You know what I mean? And so persistently. So anyway, I lived with this family, and my Instagram at the time was popping. It was like all pictures of me in the woods at different restaurants. And I remember you had either we were texting, or you had like posted a comment on one of my like many beautiful pictures. And it was something to the effect of like, oh, I wish like I had the time to be, you know, doing what you're doing all the time. You're always somewhere different. It was something to that effect. And your comment hit me like it was so burdensome to me, because all the pictures I had were like, yeah, the cool things I was doing, but I was doing them all alone. I was. Don't hit the mic. Right. Yeah. And I was alone. I had developed panic attacks to the point where, like 6-hour-long panic attacks, driving down the street, vomiting, blurred vision. Ultimately, I would develop tremors in my hands because isolation is real.
Yeah.
The impact of rejection. If you guys don't know, and Kylie knows, I've always been, without, it sounds sophomoric, but I've been more of like a popular person. I've always had a lot of friends. I've always been like out there, outside, if you will. And I entered the church and entered isolation, loneliness, rejection, almost immediately. I have tattoo. I'm covered in tattoos. I have the dreadlocks, but at the time I had cut off my thigh length dreadlocks so I could get baptized. So I had really short hair, and I'm already not the most like feminine, dainty woman. So like I'm just like running around looking, and I'd start working out. So I'm just like, and I'm loud. You know what I mean? It was just like, nobody was having it. And at some point, like I remember one woman, and I was the only Black person in consistently white spaces. And that's its own, you can make it about race if you want. I guess partially that would be right. Like culturally.
It always is.
Yeah.
About race.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It sucked. And you had made that comment about like, well, like, I was, you know, I had the time to, or I was, you know, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm literally having, now 5 years later was like the third worst experience in my life. Oh. And I've had such a tragic life too. You know what I mean? And, at one point, I went back to Missoula and we were talking. And I don't know if you remember this, my personality had changed. I had like really low self-worth. I was starting to talk really quiet because I was absorbing this idea of what femininity is according to the conservative gaze, which is shrinking. And, you know, even how I'm sitting, I'm like literally my legs over, you know what I mean? Like,
that's so interesting because in the different versions that I've seen of you over the years, I've never perceived you as, or I've never really picked up on that low self-worth, but I've seen you in different seasons of your life where you've either been more outgoing or more observant. And I remember this time of you coming back to Missoula and us going for a walk and thinking, oh, Kei's in this spot where she's really observant right now. And kind of to backtrack a little bit. To like the comment that shook you up a little or got you thinking about things, right? Yeah. I really think that was in direct response to something that you had said to me that has changed my life.
Oh, shoot.
And I use it so often with my clients. At one point you were like, man, when I talk to kids or, young adults trying to find their way in the world, the first thing I ask them is, are you a nomad or are you a settler?
Yeah.
And that shook me. And I think I think that there's always been this part of you that I've really admired, that you're so adventurous and you're so much of a nomad, right?
Yeah, you can't pin me down.
and so in my mind, I'm like, oh, Lakeitha's a nomad, and that's so cool. I'm very much a settler, and that's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But then when you're telling me this story about this comment that I made on something, I was like, that's totally in response to me being like, oh, Lakeitha, you're such a nomad. I love that.
Yeah.
But I use it all the time with my clients too, where I'm like, man, my friend once told me this, and I really think it can really give us good insight about who we are and what our values are as people. Are we born to move, or are we born to stay and develop?
Yeah.
And I think that it's admirable on both sides. Like,
I would say
what you can build if you're in one place for long enough is amazing, but it's also incredible what you can discover if you go out into the world.
Yeah.
And I've always admired that about you.
I appreciate that. I would like to continue doing this. This interview thing is actually going on the road next year.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. We've got some good ones actually kind of coming up, but I think that's even to my point is maybe I always want to be so careful with my words because I don't want to offend a community. And let me say this, because I've said it before. If you are in a Christian community where women have babies and the man is like the figure that the woman really, she's secondary, and within your relationship there is a primary secondary versus a partnership, I think that's fine because that's your community and that's how you guys are doing things, right? And I think my mistake was continuously entering communities like this where that's not even what I want for my life.
And you didn't fit the mold.
I didn't fit the mold. And instead of maybe even somebody just being like, hey, and to be fair, I don't think it's conceptualized like that. I think many times it's conceptualized like this is the only way to live a life is if the woman marries the man and they have the babies and the woman stays at home. That's the other addendum to it. The woman stays at home and does these things. And again, super fair if you guys are building a community around that. I think the issue was the judgment toward me. I remember sitting, you sit with the elders for entrance into basically any church. And so I was just going through that process to join a church. And I was saying, I was talking about my daughters, all caps, daughters, right? And they were like, okay, but do you have any? And you guys know my kids are adopted. So they were like, okay, but do you have any kids of your own? And it was just, they don't count. Have you birthed any children? And I have listened to what the thought process is behind that. And the Lord tells us to create disciples. However, my argument would be just because you birth a child and teach them something, it doesn't mean they will become that thing, right? Also, you can take another child that you didn't give birth to and teach them something, and they do become that thing. Discipling is not dependent on bloodlines. And that was a point that for some reason is missed sometimes in certain spaces and certain Christian spaces. But that was the beginning, if you will. and then you add the tattoos. And then I remember looking for somebody to play basketball with. And by somebody, I mean another woman. And shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to Stephanie, because she was the only one that was like, pulled me aside and she said, Lakeitha, you're not going to find anyone. None of the women are going to play basketball with you here. And she ended up, they kicked her out of the church with her husband. And I think maybe they were right. Say that on camera. You know what I mean? Shout out to Stephanie. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not been a good journey, but back to you saying that comment. When I visited you and I had gone back, there were many, many people who expressed concern about the situation that I was in. Many, many people who said, you need to get out. Many people who said, are you okay? Like something's wrong. 3 people offered me solutions. One, my friend Annalisa was like, listen, I don't know what's going on there, but if you will leave, me and my teenage daughter will fly down there, we'll pack your stuff up, and we will move you anywhere in the country you want to go if you'll just leave. And then my niece, who's the oldest niece, so we're the same age, she was like, Auntie, and she's the one who I ended up going with. She was like, you say the word and I'll fly out there and come and get you. Shout out to Brittany. She showed up in a sheer catsuit. I said, can you change, please? How did you get on the plane, ma'am? Sheer catsuit.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to, she's amazing. And then the third person was you. And I don't know if you remember this. You said, if you will leave, I'll rent you. Because these people were renting me a room in the house for like $300, which is like, what? And with that $300 rent, I was able to travel every other month. But as my mom would later say, you need to move somewhere that you keep traveling to instead of traveling so much. Shout out to my mom. But you said, I will rent you a room in my house for the same price that you're renting there. If you want, if you'll leave.
But I had all these animals.
You did have all these animals. So that was a no-go.
That was a no-go.
Yeah, that was a no-go. But it was, you were one of the people.
Aww.
And ultimately, it was that so many people had concern. That was more of what made me leave than the actual situation that I was in. So thank you for that. And that's how you kind of fit into that story, how you have a name in that story.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely remember the situation in Georgia.
Yeah.
And how isolated you were.
Yeah.
And how the only community you were able to find was your church.
Yeah.
And even that was spotty for you.
It was spotty because here's what happened. So the family went to this church, and it was like a white and Asian church, and they segregated. They said it wasn't on purpose. They said, we think people would feel more comfortable. They segregated the people of color into one small group. And then everybody else was in other various small groups. And there was only 2 Black couples there. And the husband of one couple said to me pretty early on, maybe you would be more comfortable at East Point Church. They have a better demographic for you. So I pulled up to East Point Church. It's predominantly Black, but it's diverse, but like Black leaning. And 30-somethings, 30, 40-something. So it was a really good fit. The preaching, Pastor Tony Carter, amazing preaching. And what I didn't know, way back in California, I had put a book in my Amazon cart called Black and Reformed, about being a Black Christian. And you know who wrote it? Pastor Tony Carter. And I didn't realize that.
Full circle.
It was so good. And he signed it for me.
Aww.
And so the other thing, when I went there, when we're talking about like being judged for who you are in the church, I listen to some rap music. I love rap music. And I was saying like, oh, I really want to transition into like Christian rap, but Christian rap is terrible. People say Jesus, but have no talent to back it up. You know what I mean? They hit me with like a full playlist of Christian rap. That's really good.
Oh.
So that was good. And then I love to talk about homeschooling, and they were like kind of talking about that. I really fit in. So shout out to East Point Church. Yeah. Did you ever go to church, or like, what's that for you?
Oh, I love this question.
Yeah. Oh boy.
No, it's not bad. So my parents were not religious, and they didn't ever go to church. My mom has always believed in God, and we've always celebrated Christian holidays, but neither of my parents have ever gone to church that I'm aware of, unless they did when they were kids, and I just didn't know.
Yeah.
My grandma was Lutheran.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I have a whole story there.
Okay.
But all my friends in elementary and middle school were Catholic. And so for quite a few years, up until I was probably in high school, I would do all these Catholic things because my friends were going to them. So we'd go like the Bible studies. I'd go to Catholic summer camp.
Wow.
And I would always go to church and hang out with them. And so I like to joke that was like my hobby Catholic era.
Yeah.
Right. Because I didn't take communion, or I didn't take my first communion. I didn't like do all the things to become fully Catholic. I haven't been baptized.
Okay. Yeah.
And it wasn't really something that I felt passionately about, but it was just because my friends went. And so sure, I'll like go memorize Bible verses for prizes. You know, why not?
Do you remember any?
No.
Okay.
But I do think it's kind of a silly thing because my parents were kind of just like, why are you doing this?
Right.
Right? Like, that's so strange. Why is my kid going to Catholic Bible study?
Right. I love that.
It was a season of my life that was interesting, right?
Hobby Catholic.
And then when I was younger, this is a fun story, an interesting story. Okay. I'll say that. My grandma was Lutheran. She was not super religious, but she wanted us kids to go to church with her. And so we would go to church with her occasionally. And then there was one time that they wanted us to boycott Planned Parenthood or Blue Mountain Clinic or something.
The Lutheran church?
Yeah, the one that we went to. And this was years and years and years ago, like, mind you, like in the 90s.
Yeah.
And my grandma had really strong beliefs about birth control. Her birth control failed her. Long story short, she ended up with 3 kids, and and very close together. And I think it was really overwhelming for her life.
Yeah.
So she was a very big advocate for like women's reproductive rights and access to birth control. And I guess she had strong beliefs about abortion. And so when
for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not that we ever discussed it, but something rubbed her the wrong way about protesting I can't remember if it was Blue Mountain Clinic or Planned Parenthood or whatever.
Yeah.
Something rubbed her the wrong way about that, and we never went back to church.
Wow.
And I think it's really fascinating. She wasn't a super liberal person, but I think that it impacted her personally in such a way that it was a hot topic.
Yeah.
And pretty much that's my experience with organized religion.
Mm-hmm. 'Cause it is your experience with organized religion.
Like, I mean, that's like pretty much when I was a kid, hobby Catholic, going to Lutheran church with my grandma until we never went back. And then when I was in high school, I think I didn't do anything related to church or religion or Christianity whatsoever. Now I consider myself to be Buddhist. Yeah. I go to Sangha sometimes, but you can be a Buddhist and a Christian. Open way. Oh, what is Sangha?
Yeah.
Oh, and I said, what Sangha? Sangha is where you go to do Dharma readings and learn about mindfulness, and you do meditation.
Okay.
And the Sangha is the community that goes to the meditation center. So it means the community of people that attend, but also the event itself.
Like,
or the place.
Like church, like how we use church.
Yeah.
You go to Sangha.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then you do mindful. Can you describe what mindfulness is, and if it's any different than the therapeutic term of mindfulness? Can you explain that if it is different?
Long story short, it's the same.
Okay.
I like to make the joke that being a counselor, I mean, there are different types of counselors, of course, but a lot of counseling, especially DBT, is all rooted in Buddhist teachings and mindfulness.
So what's DBT? Sorry.
Dialectical behavioral therapy.
Okay.
But it's basically the teachings of mindfulness and breath work, and it could involve meditation, journaling, things like that. Right?
Yeah.
Acceptance.
Okay.
Curiosity.
Yeah.
And really, I feel like so much of therapy as we know it today has just been essentially stolen, borrowed, whatever you want to say from Buddhism.
Oh, I wonder. I would love to like fact check that, or like see what the people who started DBT or cognitive behavioral therapy or any of the other modes of like therapy, what their religious backgrounds are, or like theoretical backgrounds or philosophical backgrounds. My friend Ben, who's like the most knowledgeable about all things Christianity ever, talks about Carl Jung a lot. And I always wondered if what Carl Jung's like correlation to Christianity is, if he was devout or if he was borrowing, or what that might look like. But yeah, your grandma. So there's a lot of protests, and I'll say it with my whole chest and 10 toes down every time. Whenever we have a clinic that performs abortions, which is called Blue Mountain in Missoula, and there will be picketers there with like dead babies and the whole thing. And I would maybe not have so much of an issue with it, except for the fact of how it's located. I don't know if you know this, but literally 50 feet away from Blue Mountain is a place called Youth Homes. And within that building are so many children who were not aborted, and now and their parents then abuse them, or whatever the case is, that they're now separated from their parents. And it is bothersome to my soul, specifically with the Blue Mountain protesters and Youth Homes being right there, that there seems to be a disconnect. There seems to be a disconnect there. And in addition, you go through life and you talk to people. I have a friend that has had, I think they're called DNRs. It's basically when you're, it's like a miscarriage at a later date, and the baby has to be removed from your body. And she's had, unfortunately, multiples of these. And to see then, to be accosted for doing something, because the procedure is the same as an abortion. It's no different. To kind of be accosted on your way in and have visual like imagery of your child, and no sympathy. No one's talking to you to see what your situation might be, why you're there.
It's tough.
After talking to her, it would be my own. I am anti-abortion, obviously, but it would be, I've learned over time through having many, many conversations with different women and their various experiences. I just tend not to speak with such a wide stroke regarding that subject. And just me, myself, and I choose to go the Youth Homes route. This doesn't make me a better person. That's not why I'm saying it. I'm just, I would always invite Christians that have very strong actions toward whatever other group of people to just consider their heart posture truly toward whatever other group that is, because maybe you have some unresolved hatred or dislike or other type of issue, and you could be in a position to repent yourself, is kind of where I've landed on that subject. Is like, you don't know everything, you don't know everybody's situation.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard because the world is so polarized and everybody wants everything to fit into these neat little boxes and have everything be black or white.
Yeah.
But really, realistically, the world operates in this lovely gray zone, which is, well, not always.
Yeah.
Or not every,
or
right?
What about?
Oh, yeah. There's always some exception. There's always something to consider before taking such a staunch stand about, especially concerning other people's actions. Like, you can have your guidelines for your own life and be very staunch about that, but when you're trying to apply that to other people, you'll find it's very difficult because there's not a one size fits all approach for humanity. And just like your friend situation, like, there's always going to be something that comes up that's like, man, this could cause 2 deaths. That's so hard.
It is. I'm just going to speak to the Christians and just remind, we want to engage people with compassion. We want to be what I like to call like a fair representation of Christ. That doesn't mean if there is injustice or if there is wrong that you can't speak on it. I would always say first have a biblical basis for whatever it is that you're talking about or what you're wanting to communicate to somebody. Second, and I've been really absorbing a lot of content and media and literature about how to evangelize. It's been brought to my attention again and again that I'm quite suited in personality and knowledge to evangelize. And I want to take that seriously. But also, I would say if you're going to rebuke somebody, check your heart posture toward love. If you don't love the person that you're attempting to tell that they're doing something wrong, that's not to say you can't tell them. You need to figure out how to deliver a message, the message you're trying to give, in a way that it's received. Otherwise, if you're saying something just for the sake of saying it, and it's not received, the true purpose might be just to gratify your own sinful intentions. Is all I'm saying. So say what you're going to say, but really put thought into it. Make sure there's a biblical basis for it. And also, while you're doing those 2 things, examine the log in your eye. There's a saying Jesus was saying, before you take the speck out of your brother's eye, take the log out of your own first. So just want to put that there. You guys can have that. You guys can have it. Let's see. Anything else that's a burden on you to say? All right. Well, people keep telling me they want part 2s of things. So if you feel like you want a part 2 with Kylie, drop it in the comments below. Drop any questions you have. I'll send her the link once this airs, and prayerfully she'll answer them. If there's anyone you guys want me to reach out to interview, let me know as well. Oh, I also didn't even do my intro. I am 3+Kei. I'm here to encourage you to pursue the smile by prioritizing the Lord, your physical health, and persistent education. And this is my half a lifelong friend, Kylie, the therapist now. Bada boom, bada bing.
Hello. Oh, I didn't even go. I wanted to talk to you about when I was trying to become a Christian therapist. We will have to do this again. Once you're a therapist.
I guess we'll have to do a part 2.
Part 2.
All right, guys. Thank you. Boop, boop, boop. See you later.